Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is now part 2 of the Cafe Racer build. So what this part is going to consist of is basically a strip down of the bike. We're doing the front end off, overhaul the front end completely, back end as well, so the wheels, everything like that, all the brake, anything that can come off the bike basically I'm going to take off and sort of clean up and leave the engine in place. Then just clean up the frame, spray up the frame, do all bits like that. So basically it's just ready to put all back together. I'm going to start by taking the exhaust off, which I actually already have done. I sort of stepped into stage 2 a little. So there's the exhaust, I've taken that off. So there will be a step of, after this, so there will be a video of what I did with that, and just to show you basically the procedure, because a few of the bolts are a bit stuck. But this is not a standard system. The standard system for this bike is a dual pipe, so either side. So I'm going to sort of work with this, possibly cut it in a section and make it shorter and do whatever anyway. So that's off. Next part is going to be the front end. So of course the handlebars, of course the wiring loom is going to come off, and then the front end, and then all bits like that. So yeah, we'll get cracking. All right, so I've managed to break away the exhaust now from the head. 4 bolts out. One had already snapped. I got one there, it's already snapped, but managed to pull the flange away, so that the whole thing now should just, I see it all wobbly, so the whole thing just now sort of pull forward and then removed successfully. So that's one job done at least. So we'll get that nice and clean, and then work out what I'm going to do with that as far as modify. Right, so that's the battery out now. Get the battery out of the way, take the earth strap off, and then start disconnecting the wiring loom as well. So take off that one from the solenoid. I have tried to remove this, but of course, as mentioned previously, I did break the little thing inside, and the nut on there just will not budge. So that's going to stay on, but the rest of it's all going to come off. So start by getting this one off here. Okay, that's a 10mm. Oh, I've just dropped it. Bollocks. Oh well, that's a 10mm on there. So once I've found it, now there he is under there. I'll just grab him now. There he is, little bugger. All right, put that back on there, and then we'll get that out of the way. Of course, this is all labelled up now, so it's going to be a lot easier, but I'm going to leave that one connected so that can just dangle, and then slowly start taking all this apart, plug by plug. I'm going to leave some things connected just like these, leave them in, because they can just stay attached to the loom. Saves losing them, and they're all attached then. So that's pretty much it now. What's that? Oh, that's the ignition barrel, so that one needs to come out. Okay, that's out. There's still parts of this wiring loom that do need doing, like there's little bits here that their ends that aren't working, so I'll need to work out what. But I think they're all lights, to be fair, so I need to get to that at some stage, but that'll be on the rebuild. So this can all come off now. Oh no, I need to take the coil ones off. God, there's so many plugs you just kind of forget. So get them off now. Little ones to note of, I've not actually put labels on, but like little earth straps like this. I mean, it's part of the coil plugs anyway. You can see these are coil ones. So this black one here, kind of my own mental note, that goes on the coil, don't forget. Happy days. So that is now completely, he says, maybe it's not. What's that stuck on now? Oh, it's all the little relays and stuff in there. Dear me. No, it's all just hooked down the bottom. Oh, goodness me. It's all like attached, isn't it? That's all that, there we go. Right, so that is the loom now, completely off. No, it's not at all. It wouldn't be. Oh well. Let's get that one more off. It is actually. Oh, I'm blocking the camera. It is, it was just that, because caught in there, part of the control. But that's off now, so that's fully suspended, so that can go now into the box. That can be all cleaned up at some point and make sure all the wires are proper, and any sort of joints that need to be replaced will be replaced. So that's the wiring loom off. So now on to the, well, I'll get the coils off actually as well, get them out of the way so that it's just completely off the bike. And then the front end. Alright, so the coils are now off. Always worth sticking those back in so we don't lose them, so to keep them together. But yeah, they'll just need a general tidy up. I mean, they do work, but look good after a clean. Yeah, not bad at all. Probably never been replaced since new, so doing well really. That kind of just really opens up the bike a lot now. You can see a lot more of the frame. It sort of exposes everything, so it'll be a lot easier to clean or get all under here, get it all nice, and then get it all sprayed up. It look lovely. Get that done. Alright, so just going to remove the ignition barrel there. Like a 2 bolts, one there and one on the other side, but it looks like they're possibly some type of security measure of some description, possibly. I don't know, because you won't be able to get anything there to actually remove that, so I'm not too sure. If anyone knows and can educate me on that, then if that is correct and it's something to do with the security, then that's always an interesting thing, but I don't know how to get those off unless I drill them. But yeah, oh well. Let's take the whole thing off as a oneer, I suppose. Alright, so I'm going to start taking the front end off, which will start with these bars. They are loose because I have removed them previously, but there's just these big hex bolts on here, so remove them. And don't drop it, because obviously I just dropped it, oh well. Remove these. What I'm going to do is, because I've tried to find different top yoke for these, like a sort of a conversion, so I can put like a standard bars on. Where are they? These little tools. These little things, either sort of conversions, but I don't know if these are sort of for this bike as such. Now that thread is different to the original thread, and it doesn't go in there, so what I'm thinking is possibly drilling through that, open it up slightly so this goes through straight through the bottom, and then that sort of essentially just sit on the top there like that, and hold it into place. Maybe put something between this, because that's of course used to sort of lock that into place, I guess. Maybe smooth that out, I don't know, but put like a rubber washer or something in there to lock it. But yeah, that's what will be the case. That'll sit on there, and then I can have my own handlebars then, sort of drop down cafe racer style ones. So that's the plan for that, but we'll see how it goes, because I don't think there is a top yoke. As far as research goes, there's no top yoke that will fit this one as a replacement. So, but again, if there is and anyone knows about it, do let me know. Okay, so we're going to get this front wheel removed now. Of course, we want to loosen off this nut here. I've already done it just in case it was a pain. Loosen off the pinch bolts on either side, get them loosened, and then the shaft should fall through. Once those are off, knock it through. So we'll I'll put that in line with the thread, the nut actually, so we can bang it through in a minute. So we're going to loosen these off, tap that through, and hopefully it'll come through nicely. Okay, that's the pinch bolts off. So just for reference sake, the pinch bolt is a 12mm. So these ones here, 12mm. This one is a 17. Oh, it's not a 17, it's a 19. That's a 19, and then the one on the back is a 22, which is this one here, slightly different. Okay, so just for reference sake, those are the nut sizes for removing the wheel. Okay, it's always good to make note of what goes where. So of course, the first one to come off was the 19mm nut there, and then the washer behind that. Shaft came straight out. There was no washer on that side. Got the spacer then, so it sort of goes in this order, if you like. And then on this side, rather than the spacer, you've got just the speedometer drive unit there. So that just pops on place, acts as a spacer, I guess. But there's no other washers, so that's it. So it's always good to make note, because otherwise you get a little bit confused and you forget where things go, which isn't good. So that's the wheel off. So we'll get it out of the way, get that stripped and cleaned as well. Tyre, discs, everything like that. So yeah, let's get the front of it off. Just taking this front mudguard off, one thing I have noticed, it has been cut here. I do need to file it down a bit, smooth it out, but no, it looks quite good, to be fair. So just get that removed, and then get the forks out the yokes there, and then split the yokes and take that off. So yeah, we'll get that done. Okay, so that's come off nicely, but there's some creepy crawlies in there. I don't even know what that is. Ooh. Oh, it's nothing, it's empty. Whatever it is. Very strange. Odd things. I'm putting these little 10mm nuts back in the holes here. I always do this personally, so I don't lose them. I mean, there's no reason why that can't go in. I mean, when I come to spray them up or clean them up, I can remove them, but just so you don't lose them, because they're so small and everybody always loses the 10 mils, whether it's sockets or nuts, they just disappear. Just looking at the forks here, these seals will need replacing at some point because there is a bit of weeping, they are wet, but I've also noticed these are very pitted. Now hopefully I'll clean them with a bit of fine wire wool or tin foil or something like that. If they clean up, then a bonus. If not, I may have to look into replacing these because they're going to scratch the seal. They're just going to cause damage over time anyway, so there might just not be any point. I have thought about replacing this whole front end with sort of a modern type build. Things I do see with cafe races is they replace them with this being a Yamaha, like an R6 or something like that. So that's something I'm going to look more into as a possibility. Expensive, but we'll see. I think it might be worth it in the end. So certainly look into something like that, but we'll see. Right, so to drop these forks out, quite simple. You've got the bottom yoke here. You've got a couple of pinch bolts there holding them in, and then you've got the one at the top here. So just loosen those, and the whole fork then will drop out. Of course, there's this part in the middle connecting the two. This does come off, then they can split them to be independent, but I'm going to leave these on for now, and then knock them down, just so it's easy, and then I'll have a look at it after, and then split them up afterwards. But we'll get these undone and knock the forks out now. These are coming away quite nicely. It is a little bit more difficult than if you split them. If you split them, they come out independently. It is a bit easier, but with a very soft mallet, just giving it a few taps on here, they are dropping out quite nicely. So I'll get them dropped out now. And voila, the forks are out. Very easy, very straightforward. So now, get them to the side. Put them next to the wheel. This is the parts area. There's be a big pile of things to do, but that's going to be on the sort of stage 3 of the overhaul of that bit. This is simply the strip down at the moment. So now we'll get the triple clamp off the upper and lower yokes there. So simple process again. We take the top nut off here. Once that top nut comes off, this will lift up, have the bearing underneath, and then the bottom one will sort of drop down. So we'll get that off there quite nicely, hopefully, he says. Okay, so that's come off quite nicely with a 28mm nut on top there. Came off quite nicely with a 21-inch breaker bar, no problem. So we'll get that off now, and then underneath should be another couple of that's going to come off. Oh, there we go. There we go. That's the top yoke off there with the ignition barrel attached. Of course, I'll show you how to see it a bit better. The security bolts. Yeah. Won't worry about that for now. That's the upper yoke off. And then you've got these ones here. We'll try and break them free. That's going to be a pain. I don't know. They're going to come off too nicely. And then that whole thing just drops through, so we can get the bearing looked at. Possibly replace the bearing, if not just clean it and re-lubricate it, and it should be all good. So again, with making notes of taking things apart, it's always good to make note of this one. So as it's come off, of course you've got the top nut there, and then you've got a washer, and then you've got this one here, I don't know, like a castellated nut or whatever the actual name for that is. If anyone does know, please educate me. You've got a rubber seal that goes in between, and then of course the other one there. Then that'll come off with this gizmo here. They're not actually attached, and then the bottom yoke will drop through, so we'll get that cracked now. Okay, as you can see, that's just dropped straight out. You've got the two bearings. I'm not too fussed about it being on the floor because these are getting cleaned, possibly even replaced, because actually they are very dry and sorry looking. So yeah, that's just dropped through, just like, obviously don't drop it. That's just, just lean it on there. There we go. Just drop down like that. It goes up, and then of course your bearing goes on first, and then we've got this, the cap, and then you've got that one, and then you've got your rubber washer. You've got your other one of those. Then you've got your washer or your spacer or whatever that might be that slots in there nicely. And then you've got your nut that goes right on top, and of course that goes on top of the upper yoke there. So, and that's it. So it's always good to make notes or put them together like that so we know where what goes. And that is that done. That's off and stripped. And then again, as far as the storage goes, I'm going to leave it as it's assembled. That way, if it's left for 2 or 3 months, at least you know then how it goes back on. Not that it will, but like this is a slow winter project, so that might be sit there for a while. Just as a heads up, just so you sort of remember. But yeah, and there we go. So that's where we're at with it at the moment. We're going to sort of start stripping down that back end and take anything else off. Oil cooler, I think we'll probably drain the oil, actually get all that removed as well. Yeah, and get it cleaned up. Okay, so start with taking the rear end apart. The rear brake master cylinder here. Take all this off. One bolt snapped there from looking. One just at the bottom here, that should pop out. Not too sure what that is. Take the rear suspension. That's already off actually. One of them is already off. I will take that one away. Rear wheel, pretty straightforward, I believe. I think we have to take the torque arm off, the brake torque arm off first from the caliper bracket, and then there's a split pin here. That nut's off. I believe there's another one. There's a pinch bolt there, and then that should just pop out that bolt. And then the wheel comes off. There's no brake caliper on the rear anyway, so there's no point in removing any of that. So that's one of the things I'm going to have to get. Yeah, and then just whatever else. A few of these cables, I think they're sort of hardwired in actually, but there's a strap. Yeah, so we'll get cracking with that and we'll get those removed. Alright, so just removing this this master cylinder now. So I've taken that one bolt out. That's a 12mm, very tight, very seized in there, so that's free. And then the reservoir is held in by this. These horrible Phillips head, these horrible things. I found a lot of them on this bike so far, and they're very difficult to get off. And you can already see I'm just about got it off without it stripping. I'm going to be replacing all of these with normal hex bolts, because it's just a nightmare. I absolutely hate them, and I'm sure a lot of people agree. They're just a nightmare. Okay, so that's pretty much free now. So this is the Phillips head that was on there. Look, you see, even it's started to go. I'm going to leave it in there now anyway, just so I remember, but like I say, these are getting replaced because they're a nightmare. So that's out. So that's pretty much free now. All I need to do now is just, there's a circlip I believe on there. That should pop out and then that'll be free from that. And usually you'd be the hose on the back here connected to the caliper, but there is no caliper, so that's just completely free as it is. So that should come off now quite easily. So I'm just looking at it here, this bottom of this master cylinder. It's not a circlip, it's actually a split pin. I had to give it a bit of a wire brush, clean it, but it's you can see it's coming away there. It's a split pin, so just bend those out and I'll pull it through, and then hopefully that should come off nicely. That was a bit of a pain. Finally it is off, so we're going to remove the washer and then hopefully just knock that pin outwards. There we go. He's not going all the way. There we go. Out he comes. And then off that comes. Lovely stuff. And then that is free, so we'll get rid of that now. Okay, so that's the rear brake master cylinder now out. That's definitely going to need replacing. There's certainly seen better days. The dust coming out of it, that is absolutely todged. Oh well. We'll get a new one. We're going to work to get this rear wheel removed now. So firstly, we need to get this, the torque arm on the rear, get this off, remove the split pins on either side, and then the bolts that should come out nicely. Okay, so once those horrendous split pins are actually gone, then we simply take those off. I'll remove those. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Out he comes. No washer on that side. There we are.
Get them out of there. He's probably going to need banging through, to be fair. A little bit tight, that one. Yeah, a couple of little taps. And he's out. There's a washer on that one. There wasn't a washer on the other side. Put them down there. Or would you keep everything together as we normally do? Oh, that's still a bit tight. I know he's coming. He's coming. Now there shouldn't be much torsion on that because it's suspended. There we are. Wibble him off. Come on. Let's get out. There we go. And there he is out. Lovely stuff. So then that. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Wibble, 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 wibble. Lovely. God, that's proper dirty under there, isn't it? Get it all cleaned up and sprayed up, looking good. That can go in the box of many goodies. What next? Okay, so once the other split pins removed, horrendous split pins, absolutely hate them. We're going to get a 19mm nut, break that loose, which is already done. And then I'll try and drag this nut off. Easy peasy, come on. There we go. There we are. Get him off. And then there's a washer there as well. Always remember again where everything goes. On the opposite side you've got this little pinch. Where is he? There he is. Pinch off. We'll just crack that loose and then that should knock through. Right, so that pinch bolt now is opened up on the other side and we're just going to knock that through. Again, I haven't got a soft-ended hammer, so always worth putting a nut or something on the end so you don't damage the thread. Give it a few little taps. It's starting to come through. Yeah, he's splitting here, so it's starting to move. Will be a bit tight, but maybe just take that out even more because it is loose, but it's obviously gripping it a bit more, so we'll have a play around with that now. Right, it's starting to come now nicely along with the rain. Holy moly, it's getting heavy. So yeah, just very slowly, gently tapped it through. It's starting to come now, just tapping the end of that with a hammer, or even on its own, in fact on its own. And you can see the shaft is starting to come out now, so I'll be able to pull that out by hand. You can see this one, the caliper that holds the caliper, and for the for the torque arm, brake torque arm there. So if we just go, oh, hang on, got to make note again of the washer. So we've got a washer, another washer, oh, it's a spacer, and then on this side, of course, we've got anything in there is probably something. So let's just pull that out. And voila, lovely stuff. That drops all of those. And then the wheel should now sort of slide over to the right and then pop out. Okay, that's the rear wheel off. Now that took a lot of persuasion. There's all sorts of webs and stuff living in there. I don't know when the last time that's come off. I mean, that bearing looks pretty fresh, to be fair, but that was well and truly on there. I had to really boom that. But the book said just slide it to the right. That was definitely not happening. But anyway, that is off. Oh god, look at the state of that in there. That needs a good old clean. But yeah, good stuff. So that's the wheel done. So now we're going to get the suspension sorted. Alright, so off with the suspension now. I can say one side is hanging. These are 17mm nuts on here. They're actually already loose, so it has been, like I say, it's been semi-stripped and played with before, so it's kind of making it a bit easier. I don't know why that's a different one though. It's different to these. I might get some nice new ones. But are they nuts? Yeah, they are as well. So maybe, I don't know. I'll have to have a look at that and see. Maybe that's supposed to be different. I'm not too sure. We'll see. Right, so that's those off. Came off pretty straightforward actually. Those was a bit tight on that side. But yeah, I just noticed these sort of got a little shaft as part of the frame with nuts, whereas this one is slightly different. I'm assuming it's because it's that type of sort of swing arm on that side, so yeah, that's fine. But of course I'm going to leave the, as always, leave the nuts and bolts on so we don't lose them, and then we'll get this suspended slightly so that it's not weight bearing on the back there in case there's any excess, because it's got a bit of weight.
Okay, cool. Came off pretty straightforward.
Right, so I think that's it as far as stripping it. I'm not going to go any further than that. I think that gives me a good access point for cleaning and stuff, like the wheels off. I could take the swing arm off, but because it's a shaft drive, it's a bit more complicated. Possible, maybe, but I mean, it gives me good access to clean. Like a lot of that stuff on there, so we'll get it off, get it cleaned, and get the inside all done. The engine, I think individually take off different parts, like the starter motor, clean it and put it back together once it's different parts are sprayed up. Same with the oil cooler, I can just remove it, get underneath it, clean it, and then put it back as it is. And once it's all done, we can slowly start putting it back together. But there are a few bolts that need to come out, but that'll be in a different step. There's a couple of snapped ones where I see it there. That's going to be a bit of a pain. So I didn't really want to fully strip it to the point. I just wanted to get it to a point where it's easier to clean, so I can clean it proper, you know, a proper deep clean. So yeah, I think that's it for part 2. That will do, I reckon. And then we'll move on to part 3, which is now going to be the clean. So I'm going to strip down individual parts, get them all cleaned up and built up, like the front end, for example. That's going to be overhauled, new seals, everything like that, wheels individually, and then we'll get them back on there and slowly start building it back up again. But for now, I'm gonna leave it there for part 2. So thank you for watching, and please look forward to the next installment. Thanks.